All right, welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks.
It's
been a couple of weeks. There's a lot's been going on. How have you been last couple of weeks?
I've been all right. A great conference at the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. Shout out to Jay Martin. It's really one of the class shows of the industry, and was on a panel. Got to talk with Grant Williams a bit, and talk with Matthew Peipenberg and Robert Kiyosaki. It's nice just to spend a good amount of time with Mark Moss. What a good guy he is. And
Anything else to get there, but
it's the worst, dude. From Southern Florida, it's just the worst. On the way back, it was about an 18, 19-hour day, a 4-hour flight delay from Houston to Miami, which was just obnoxious. And
then you had delayed when you were in.
Well, we were in Whistler the last 2 nights skiing, and I kind of screwed up, and we had an 8 a.m. flight. It's a 2.5-hour drive to Vancouver Airport. So we get picked up at 4 a.m. We didn't get home and into bed till after 1 a.m.
Right, but you also had a 3-hour delay at one of the airports, right?
Almost 4, yeah.
From
Houston,
where were you?
Houston to Miami.
Houston, right. That's what it was.
But it's worth going, and I wouldn't miss it.
Well, it's good to have you back, and of course, you came back to what turned out to be a little bit of a bloodbath here in the markets. We should probably touch on that a little bit.
We'll talk about all of that. First, I want to comment on you have another vest.
Yeah, it's. I think I would go with pomegranate.
You are like the master.
Vester. I don't think that I've actually
master vester.
Well, I'm not going to go there, but I don't know if we've done a live Q&A without me wearing a vest. I'm not sure.
Well, now it's pretty much a thing.
I gotta circulate. I I can't just keep getting.
You just freak me out with all the vests you have.
Yeah, I mean, pomegranate.
Is it just too expensive to buy something with sleeves? Is that what it is?
Yeah, we live in Florida. I mean, sometimes it's a little chilly because of the air conditioning, but not chilly enough where I need a full jacket. Although it was really cold this week. Last week was bitter. I mean, I don't want
it's too cold for a vest.
No, because then I wear long sleeves through the vest. But I don't want to complain about it being cold here in South Florida to the people like my daughter, who sent me a text message at 8 o'clock in the morning that it was -18 in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah, that'll teach her if you're living in Wisconsin.
I know, and your daughter's there with her.
She's in Europe right now.
Yeah. So it's not too warm there either.
Yeah, she's living the high life for sure.
And they're probably both not
in Amsterdam right now. High life,
and not wearing jackets.
Not though, girls don't do. I always got a kick out of that. Growing up in Minneapolis, you'd go out to the bars, and it's 1 a.m. in Minneapolis in January. And it's 8 below and breezy and just obnoxious. Like any animal out there living, you just are wondering how the hell they make it till morning. Well, yeah, they're running across the street in open toe, high heel shoes, and no jacket and a small skirt. I'm like, it's just the funniest thing you've ever seen. But anyways, I digress. I wanted to talk about a few things today.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Let me just start off by saying, because your wife wanted me to broach the subject. Yeah. We want to apologize to all of the winners of the raffle that we had done. Jana has just been bombarded, overwhelmed, and I am going to take a little bit off her plate. I am going to be the one that takes care of it. Jana will get me all the information for the winners. I will make sure that I get these things sent out to you all, and I will make sure that Jana takes care of getting everyone who gets swag gets that swag in a proper time frame. So we do apologize, but we will get it done. You have my word on it.
It's really kind of weird the difference between being an entrepreneur and an owner-operator. There are guys who we live with here in this community that are entrepreneurs. They own businesses and play golf every day. Mm-hmm. And then there are guys like you and I who are in an industry that really has no 9-to-5 clock. And it just seems that we get so bogged down. Most nights we're working till 12, 1 o'clock, and then realize we haven't even eaten dinner. That's kind of the way it's been the last 4 years. So no excuse. And then we ended up going to to Vancouver, and kind of the holidays. It's no excuse. We owe everyone those bars and coins, and they will be going out immediately.
We'll get it done. I promise you that we will get it done. Everyone who won something, you will get everything that you deserve, and it will happen in an expeditious manner going forward.
So I want to discuss something, and it will probably answer a lot of questions, and then we'll get to some of the questions. But I want to talk about something that people need to understand a little better, and it's the concept of premiums. Because I've been doing this, next week will be 35 years, and I've never seen a market quite like what we have right now. It's a very interesting market. I would call it an anomaly of sorts. So if we go back to the pandemic, the biggest challenge of running Miles Franklin was securing a constant flow of product. Back then, supply chains were disrupted, and we early on understood what was happening, largely thanks to Chris Martenson, who is a hell of an economist, but also an epidemiologist by trade, and alerted us to what was going on really before anyone in Minneapolis had any idea what was going on. And I was going to the health club every morning, freaking people out, telling them, yeah, evidently everyone's going to be wearing masks in a month or two, and you better go stock up. And I talked a friend of mine into getting a handgun. And I mean, he was so freaked out, he didn't talk to me for a while. And after everything became evident, he kind of came around and said, yeah, man, you were right. I'm sorry. But we understood what was coming. And I went on to my operations and I said, this is February 2020. I said, go deep into our line of credit, buy everything you can. I don't care how far out you have to go. So we were buying allocations 3 and 6 months out and trying to pay before anyone and to guarantee delivery. And that was fortuitous that we did it because we were able to maintain a lot of product. But what happens along the way, and here's how the premiums go. So let's just focus on the U.S. Mint as an example. But during the pandemic, all of the major mints were sold out of product. So the U.S. Mint has 7 or 8 primary distributors. We, Miles Franklin, about 15 years ago, were nominated by Jefferies Beige at the time, actually Prudential Beige at the time. They were one of the primary distributors. They sold to Jefferies, and then Jefferies subsequently, shortly after, closed the division and got out of the gold market. But they nominated us one of the authorized resellers. And at the time, there was only 27. Now, the Mint doesn't publish much about it anymore, so I don't know if any more were nominated. But these primary distributors have the right to nominate one per year. And 15 years ago, there were only 27 of us. Anyways, so when product comes out, like the 2025s, let's just say it's 2021 right now, the primary distributors will buy up everything from the U.S. Mint that they will sell, and they'll pay whatever their price is. Under normal conditions, Gold Eagles might be 3.5% or so over spot that the primary distributors will buy from the Mint. And then they will sell them to all of the resellers like myself or SD Bullion or JM Bullion or Money Metals. All of the companies we buy from the same handful of primary distributors, largely. Mm-hmm. And the public, of course. When the U.S. Mint runs out of product, as they have had the over propensity to do, at least over the last 4 years, they were the model of inefficiency. I used to say that all the time. There's no product coming. They're on allocation. We know that the next shipment, you may get a little bit. They've really been very poor. So then those primary distributors jack the premiums up on the buy side and the sell side. And Silver Eagles, we were paying the public $10, $11, $12, $13 over spot to buy them back and selling them a little over that. When they got that high, the spreads were bigger because as a company, we cannot hedge that premium. And that premium actually clobbered us in July and August of 2023, which I'll get to in a moment. But so the primary distributors are the market makers, and they will buy from the mints. Right now, the primary distributors are like, man, it's slow. There's been people selling. There's the Trump trade, and we have to buy millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars worth from the U.S. Mint, the Canadian Mint, the South African Mint, Australia, Austria, Canada, and we have to buy 2025 product because that's what everybody wants. And
that's called their allocation. You have to do it.
Have to do it. Right. So they're overloaded with product. But back then, nobody was selling. Everyone was buying. The mints were very inefficient. The U.S. Mint was the model of inefficiency. So we were buying Silver Eagles from the distributors at $10, $11, $12 over spot. When Silicon Valley Bank failed and Signature Bank failed, we sold a few 100,000 Silver Eagles in 2 weeks, maybe more, several, 500,000 or more, a lot. So we bought, figuring this is a trend that will continue, we bought a couple 100,000 more Silver Eagles on allocation for the month of June and the month of July, and locked them in. And yes, we're good for it. And then the U.S. Mint, after getting beaten up so badly, came up with 4 million Silver Eagles. And those Silver Eagles that I had purchased at $9 over spot were now, I was able to buy them for $4 over spot. It cost us $5 on what amounted to just under 100,000 coins that were not sold. So we lost $500,000, no recourse on that. We can hedge the metal content, we can't hedge the premium. So the dealers a lot of them got really beat up over that. And
not all dealers can hedge. Not all dealers do hedge.
Well, and we're only hedging the metal content.
Right.
So, and because in March and April, we were still paying huge premiums for Silver Eagles by June and July, or by July, really, after we had just received that second allocation, premiums collapsed. Mint comes up with 4 million Silver Eagles. And now you're paying $4 over to buy 100,000 instead of $9 over. And there's nothing you can do about it. You make, if you're lucky, back then you're making 80, 90 cents a coin, and you just lost $5 a coin. It's a losing proposition. Anyway, so understand that companies like mine do not set the premiums. The premiums are set by the market makers, and it always was a function of production and distribution. The U.S. Mint takes a blank piece of gold or silver, they stamp it, they put it in tubes of 20, boxes of 500, and they send them out. Used to be, my cost on Silver Eagles might have been $2.79 over spot back in the day, and that was most of my career. We'd sell them at $3.39, buy them back at $2.69, a very small spread. 10 cents back what we could buy brand new ones for. It's typically what it was. And all of a sudden, it goes from being a cost of production and distribution, the cost of running the mint, to supply and demand. And that's the way it was during the entire pandemic. And now it's a very unusual situation. And I want people to understand what's going on. First of all, our bid prices are typically the best in America, period. Would you say that's fair?
100%. I mean, look, we scour as best we can to see what almost all of our competitors are doing. And, we don't have a whole lot of room, but with what room we do have, we try and make sure that we are the highest bid. And I want to just kind of go back real quickly, and then we'll touch on it. When everything happened with Signature Bank, we were seeing price hikes from these distributors intraday. Yeah. Like, I'm talking 10, 12 times a day. We could have saw Eagles go from $5 to $6 to $6.25 to $7 to $8.50 in a day.
Yeah, it's true.
But now what's happening is, again, on the sell side, because there's so much more people selling, we see that on the same type of intraday scale. So we're seeing bid prices drop intraday.
Well, and I want to explain it because it's an anomaly right now. And it's a convergence of several factors. And I want people to know that next week I will have been doing this for 35 years, February, and I never seen a market quite like this ever. So let's just discuss kind of how we are where we are right now. First of all, if you've listened to me long enough, you know I have spent more time bitching about the loss of our culture over the last 4 years than I did talking about even the bricks or buying gold. As someone who comes from nothing and outworked people to get to where I am, the concept of tossing merit aside for lifestyle was something very aggravating to me, incredibly aggravating. Saying that the people who are successful aren't paying enough of their fair share was incredibly aggravating to me. Living in Minnesota, paying 10% income tax and running a business, providing opportunity for a lot of people, paying 39% federal or whatever, plus double FICA. I mean, after $400,000, you're making 30 cents on the dollar roughly. I mean, it's a joke. All of that aside, All of the craziness that we saw over the last 4 years, lawlessness, open borders, craziness in the cities where you wouldn't want to let your kid go anywhere near a city after dark, the election integrity or lack thereof, the judicial system, what happened with the FBI, the censorship, the cancel culture, all this stuff really drove me to a dark place. And I think to most of us, if we're being honest, it did to you all too. Like, is this really the world that is now in front of us that our kids are going to live in? Is this really what we're going to, this is what the United States is going to be? And then comes Donald Trump. And you can see how swiftly and rapidly he is restoring our culture. God bless him for that. And you have a exuberance that in some degrees is justifiable in my mind with, squaring the game here with getting what it means to be proud to be an American back, right? And I'm not trying to over dramatize this, but I thank God every day for being born in the United States and the opportunities that it gave me to work hard and to achieve something, right? And so I think a lot of people are happy about that. The financial side of things, the fiscal and monetary irresponsibility will not stop. And this is a blind spot for a lot of people. But the last couple of months, October, November, December, the central banks have doubled their 12-month moving average. They're buying more than ever, repatriating it all. And at the same time, the public in the United States has been doing the opposite. They have largely either been sitting on their hands waiting to see what happens or selling to jump into the risk-on trade, the cryptocurrency, NVIDIA, which fell 18% in one day with one little news story about a new Chinese AI program, DeepSeek, Apple, etc. And so it's created a lot of selling in the industry because of this exuberance. At the same time, there hasn't been a lot of buying as people are wondering, how's this all going to play out? We got to wait and see what he's able to do, what he's able not to do, et cetera. He's fighting the deep state. What kind of fight does he have on his hands, et cetera? And then you have the 2025 allocations, where not only are the distributors, but the dealers all have obligations to take on copious amounts of new product.
And having a tough time selling what they have existing already.
Right. And so a company like mine can do this because we can hedge, and the premiums are low right now. I don't have to worry about the premiums, and I can hedge my exposure, but it means that I have to, if no one's going to buy it and I'm sitting on 100 million in inventory, I have to go into my operating capital, and there's something called the cost of carry. It just sits there, and that's not good. And I'm not, look, business is still decent, right? I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to paint a picture that is anything but honest. And the bottom line is that unless you're one of the major companies like us and a few of the others, you're probably really having a hard time right now. And with people selling and the distributor is already having more than they would like, plus the 2025 allocations, the bid prices that I'm seeing right now are the lowest I've ever seen in my career, ever. Now, I would argue that the ask prices are pretty dang close as well in terms of premium above melt or above spot.
But the spread is substantial.
It is. And the spread is substantial because, there's a lot of uncertainty. It goes both ways. So I just want people to understand something that, what we lived through, for those of you that bought metal during the pandemic, we were all scared shitless, and you all were too for a period of time. No one knew what tomorrow was going to bring. Premiums, we were all a prisoner to what the premiums were. Did you want it? If you want it, this is what it costs. And it cost me pretty damn near over $500,000 in one swoop. That's just Silver Eagles. That's not everything else. We lost a lot of money when the premiums collapsed. And over the last year, premiums have been trending downward. Now, when Rick Rule says that the American public has a 0.5% allocation to precious metals, I believe him. I still believe in my soul that we will see a moment where there is an awakening by the public and a perhaps the beginning of a reset. I mean, I don't know about you, Kevin. I have this feeling like, when I did that interview with Francis Hunt and he said Donald was selected, not elected. Mm-hmm. He was brought here to usher in the digital surveillance system. He's already said he's going to issue the digital ID in order to vote. And if you look at who's got the patents on that digital ID, it's very concerning. We talked about this before. Bill Gates, the Rockefeller Center, and the big 4-letter, 5-letter.
SIVA, whatever it was.
Yeah, I can never remember, but they're the vaccine corporation.
Yep.
Anyway, what better person to oversee a reset than the master of bankruptcy and reorganization? We've talked about gold revaluation. All of these things, when you look at our indebtedness, when you look at the fact that inflation is only going to go higher with tariffs and currency wars, he won't touch the entitlements. He's already said that. He wants to onshore our manufacturing. There's massive cost to that. They left the country to begin with because it was so much cheaper. You bring that back, the cost of building the manufacturing facilities, upgrading them to current standards, teaching people, and then paying the U.S. employees, the cost is extraordinary. You're talking a depression. All I'm simply saying is we are not out of the woods by a long shot. And what I find to be so contrarian is that the central banks have been buying more than ever, including the last 3 years. They're doubling their 12-month moving average. They're repatriating it. They're continuing to buy and not being honest about it. Both Saudi Arabia and China were caught lying on their import numbers. There's a new article out that says China's been buying 10 times the amount they've been reporting. My point to you is that it's almost like a psyop, a misdirection, where everyone is being funneled into a handful of stocks and a handful of cryptocurrencies. We already have $7.5 trillion in money markets. Pulling the rug, whether it be blowing up a bank and letting a real big bank be bailed in. We just saw the first bank fail a week ago in Illinois. No one's talking about it. Didn't see if it was bailed in the way that Bank of Lindsay in Oklahoma was. I should check on that. But what if it was Bank of America and all of a sudden everyone realizes the concept of bail-in is actually law, and we mitigate, we move towards this resetting of the system. A gold-backed currency or a gold-backed 50-year treasury, as Judy Shelton says. All I'm simply saying to everyone here is that at the time the central banks are buying the most, the American public's doing the opposite and being misdirected, in my opinion, into the risk-on trade, which is creating the lowest premiums I've ever seen, not only to buy, but also if you're selling. This is not something that I am happy to say, and it is not profit that we are making. And that's really what I want to get across. And if you go and look at the competitors, what they're buying, there are websites, great companies. JM Bullion publishes their buyback prices. Look and see. You'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
SD, these are great companies, and they're way back a spot on almost everything.
Everything. And to get to your point, which I think is important.
I just want people to understand.
Listen, it's an unfortunate situation when a client calls and they see that spot's trading at X and they see, 30.50, and then we come in at, call it 29, and it's $1.50 under spot, but our competitors are at $3 under spot. They don't see that, but they see, I don't understand. I paid over spot to buy it, but now I'm getting under spot.
In my career, I've never seen that. Never.
So, but I will say this, because I do think, and I was around and I was in the financial markets during the .com era. And I do think that we are now in somewhat of the same type of predicament where there is such irrational exuberance, where you have a ton of these meme coins that don't really have any utility, but that now have huge market caps. And there's really nothing to them. And I'm probably, Andy and some other people at Miles Franklin, I'm probably one of the more bullish on certain cryptocurrencies, ones that do have utility that I think can provide something within the blockchain, that they have value. But guys, there are so many that are just hot air. And I think right now you're also seeing a transition from metal. People don't want that FOMO. They don't want to miss out. They want to get into the next big thing, and they're selling metal that they might have bought because it might not be moving exponentially the way some of the cryptocurrencies do, and they're trying to catch the wave. And my opinion is, I think that it won't end well for a lot of people. They might make a couple of bucks, but like I always say at the end of the day, when you go to a casino and you win, the only time you win is when you walk out. And most of the people that are in this big casino that we're talking about, they're not walking out.
Right.
They're not. I mean, I'm not referring to the ones again that have the utility like the XRPs, like the H bars, like Ethereum, Bitcoin being the store value for the monsters, the behemoths. I'm talking about really so much of the ones that people are chasing it, 0002s that have no utility that you can't even buy for the most part on
that was a good one there. That was you throwing out your
knowledge
right there.
Wow, listen.
What the hell does 0002 mean? For
they literally have cryptocurrencies that trade at thousands of a penny, and that you're buying 500,000 coins, and it costs you nothing. And then sometimes overnight you'll see them at 2 cents, and you just could have made yourself 800%, 1,600%.
I mean, it's like, I want to be friendly to the whole thing, but how is that not a freaking scam, man? How isn't it? It's like if you have the ability to make it and you can pump it, I mean, you could just see how this ends badly.
That's what I'm saying. And the same amount of people that see it at 2 cents, they pile in, and then they go to bed, and now they're seeing it at 0005, and they just lost almost all their money.
And I'm glad. Let me stop you for a moment. Richard Russell was my mentor. He said, if you make 7% a year, you are a rock star. And that's one of the problems too, is that, gold was up 30% this year, and it's ignored and poo-pooed. It's outpacing all the traditionals. It's just not outpacing Bitcoin, crypto. And so as a result, you have a whole generation of people who think this is normal, that returns like this are normal, dude. And it is the furthest thing from the truth. It's not normal. I've been in finance for over 3 decades, and I this time we live in is not normal. People can say, well, everything changes. I agree, things do change, but it's not normal. It just isn't, because there's nothing being produced in a lot of this. It's just the greater fool theory. Who will pay more money to buy what you already bought, hoping it goes higher? I think that you need to have some form of utility in order to justify. You have to create something of value in order to justify. I mean, when you look at gold, what gold is proof of work. It's proof of work. And by the way, Robert, I see what you have right there. He's going to ask me, Robert Kiyosaki sold all his gold and silver.
Someone just put it up there.
Robert called me or texted me this morning, and he said, I'm going on. He asked me a question. And then he said, I'm going on with Danielle Camboni. She alerted me to the fact that people are saying I sold all my gold and silver. He was so upset by that. It's not true. Not even a little bit true.
I find it hard to believe that
he's not. He's a good friend, and I talk to him about things all the time, and it's not true. And so I know he did a show with Danielle for ITM Trading, I think. So check it out. You'll hear his own words saying that. Anyways, I just think that it's so far deviated from everything that I've learned about investing, about saving, about risk tolerance, about all of these things, creating a whole generation of people who would rather not work and just try and get rich easily. So I wanted people to understand that companies like mine, I don't care if it's SDJ, Money Metals, me, any of us, we don't set these premiums. We are beholden to them. And when you make a market like we do, you're spending millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars buying things back, adding to your inventory, and you can buy the stuff from the distributors for, they keep lowering the price. So now you paid more than you can buy it for, and what do? You're beholden to the market makers. That will change, but I want people to understand that premium is a function of supply and demand. Never was. It was always a function of production and distribution. Supply and demand is really taken over. And when you look at how much money has been created, even in things like crypto and all the profits, and they're sitting there waiting to go somewhere, it wouldn't take but just a blip to run people into to blow out all of the inventory, and it changes very quickly. But I hope people got something out of this, because it's a concept that's difficult for people to understand. And the funny thing is, you talk to clients and you feel like you've done something wrong when yet you haven't, because it's hard for people. So does that mean you made all that money when you sold it to me? Now you're going to, I mean, so no, he didn't. It's just the way that the market works right now. And
let's get to some questions, because I know that there's a bunch that we have on.
All right, man, let's do it.
So
thanks for letting me rant.
No, it's what we want. Mark Tomlinson, with the current atmosphere, how secure gold and silver IRAs, such as from SD Bullion and others such as yourself, Miles Franklin. I mean, in the current environment, for me personally, I think it's probably one of the only places to be in. I think that, again, we always do prefer, if given the choice, to hold on to your metals. However, in an IRA, most of the time, there are a couple of exceptions, but most of the time you have to keep them in a depository. But I think right now, with the craziness that there is and all of the exuberance that's out there, both in the equity market, in the crypto market.
Think of The Great Taking by David Rogers Webb. All of those securities are held at the DTCC. This is metal held in a depository in trust in your name.
Correct.
Segregated. So it's probably, he's right, it probably is safer than just about any other form of traditional investment in an IRA.
And we do know for sure that when your metals actually are in the depository on the balance sheet of your custodian, your accounts are not listed as a asset or a liability.
Right, it's a custodial
account. Correct. So I think that in this market right now, I'm more than happy to have my assets in metals.
It is. It's true, because you're still in the system, but you're out of the DTCC. You're out of the Great Taking, so to speak, where those certificates are pledged to others and you are subordinate in terms of ownership if something goes haywire.
And just another tidbit on the IRAs, I would tell you that it is very important to choose a great custodian. For us, we are favoring New Direction, and I say that they have been, and I think that they will continue to be, extremely communicative to us, to our clients, and that to me is paramount. It's very, very important, probably more important, that you choose the right depository.
Yep. Yeah,
I think that's really what you need to be focusing your due diligence on, is the depositories. Custodians are important, but where your metals are actually held is the depository. And I would think that should be the bigger.
And stay the hell away from any company that only sells IRA gold. I mean, just 100%. Stay away from them already.
Don't walk, run. Yeah. If you see, for the most part, if you see a celebrity or someone pushing IRA gold and they don't really have a website that shows all of the metals that they offer, and you just see a couple of different coins that probably in the neighborhood of a 1/4 ounce or 1 1/4 ounce silver. And,
but look, again, not to interrupt, but yeah, no. we could be, look, we don't publish our prices above just a very small amount. Yeah. And our prices typically are far better off our website, yeah. off the sheet that you would request. We do that for various reasons, but the way to do it is if you, before you sign any paperwork with any company to establish an IRA, ask them, what are you going to recommend and what is it going to cost me? And then give us a call, give Money Metals a call, give JM, call one of the big companies and ask, is this fair? And we'll tell you if so. Hopefully we can earn your business that way. Maybe you call us first. But we've seen more damage over the past year or two that is so atrocious that you can't even understand how gross it is.
We're talking about, you were talking about life-changing money when it comes to people that are making some of this in the crypto world. We're talking about life-changing, destroying people, because, people put in that these companies very often target the elderly and retirees. Why? Because outside of their home, it's their single largest asset that they can invest is the IRA. And they are charging just regardless of what's going on in the premium world that we're talking about. This is a horse of a different breed. Their premium is what they're telling you are on premium coins that have collectability and have other value besides just the intrinsic value of the metal.
Nonsense.
It's bullshit. And if they come in with that and they talk about premium, I'm telling you, put your sneakers on and just run.
Dude, I had a guy call me and he cried to me. He cried because he's like, my wife is going to divorce me. She's going to kill me.
Yep, me too.
And 84 years old. I had some really gross ones. But anyway.
MJD 84, you're right.
Going.
That's exactly right. He said, don't buy from a specific place. And he's right.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
And you can go to the Washington Post article. They're mentioned in it.
Yes. There you go. Okay, so let's go real quick. All right, so this is my boy right here. When he wants to know about platinum.
Click on it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. My man, what's going on?
I don't know. I like platinum a lot.
I've been getting a lot more inquiries on platinum. A lot more, and
if you look at the COMEX numbers and the short position, it goes silver, platinum, gold. The banks have stepped on platinum. The majority of the supply comes from Russia and South Africa. BRICS members, the mints hardly make any. I had a couple of large orders for platinum at the beginning of the year, and it was fortunate. The guy is an old client of mine who's a well-to-do guy and places large orders, and he bought two in a row at the beginning of the year, and it was good he did because the allocations for platinum came out, and if you didn't buy them and didn't get them, you're not getting them. The U.S. Mint, I don't know what their mint numbers are, but I would guess 35,000 or so or less. That's it. Platinum is difficult to get these days, has larger spreads. Part of it is that it's wickedly undervalued. I have no problem, but to me, it would be third in line in preference to me for my holdings behind silver and gold, or gold and silver, however you like it. It doesn't have the history that gold and silver do as wealth. But I think the value and the logic behind what he's saying here is that it's way undervalued historically to gold, and it's rarer than gold and all of these things. So what's the deal? Again, you okay over there?
No. Ryan, call me tomorrow. I think a couple options are we have platinum maples and we have platinum eagles. The eagles have a substantially higher premium than the maples, but you can get the maples, and I'll help you with it tomorrow. My pleasure.
And this is a good question. I don't know. I mean, we have a large storage program in Canada, and I would, at this point, it's rumor. He talked more about doing it with the industrial metals. I guess we'll see if he's planning on doing it with the precious metals. It depends. I mean, getting your metal back from most countries, unless it's Canada, and even if it is Canada, is extremely expensive.
Very much.
So in theory, it could.
The only way that really, and you can't be doing a whole lot of it is flying with it, But then, of course, you got to worry about customs.
Well, you can fly with it. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the security, but you can declare it. But this is part of the reason that you're seeing so much of the metal flee the UK and come to COMEX. You're seeing the numbers in COMEX go up because in the eligible category, and that's because you have all of these short positions that are, were and are largely naked short. And if those tariffs happen, and these short positions need to come up with the metal, because remember, when someone sells a short or puts on a short, someone else takes the other end and goes long, and they cash settle, or they can stand for delivery. Well, if they stand for delivery and you don't have it, and you got to get it from London on what's called an exchange for physical, where you take a contract in New York and send it over to the UK, and they give you back the metal, which takes about a week. But if you're paying a 10 or a 20% tariff, you're screwed. And so they're all rushing to get it back into the state in anticipation of that. Don't know if it will happen, but it's something I think to keep an eye on. You could always sell it there and buy it here. But if you're talking metal in Europe, Australia, Singapore, you're talking a fortune to get it sent back.
Yep. In Switzerland,
yeah. I mean, if it were all gold out of Switzerland, not so horrible, but silver is a nightmare.
Yeah, so it's the weight.
It is something. It's a good question. It's a fair one. I guess only time will tell how he plays with that.
Will AI find even more fraud in the COMEX? Do we really need AI to gather up any more fraud? Is the question. I mean, we know
it's not a bad question. I mean, it's funny if you ask ChatGPT, is the COMEX market manipulated, and you'll get answers that more or less allude to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Look, I think the bottom line is that we are entering a period of time where countries around the world understand that commodities have a preference over or are valued higher than the currencies that are used to buy them. Who's got the real thing? And, as an example, Indonesia just became a full member of the BRICS. So they're the largest producer of nickel in the world. Their president, Widodo, has called, isn't that a funny name, Widodo? He has asked for an OPEC-style cartel of all the rare earths. He who's got the gold makes the rules is what it always used to be. Zoltan Pozsar would say, well, Bretton Woods 3, which is kind of his invention, if you will, is more about he who's got the commodities makes the rules. And so the downfall of the COMEX will be a force majeure cash settlement. And I was actually at dinner last night with some people from the club here talking about metal, and he buys aluminum from the LBMA and from the COMEX. He needs it for his business. And he was talking about a force majeure that he was involved with several years ago where he was cash settled. He couldn't get the aluminum and he got cash settled on his contract. And it can happen, right? And so if it happens, see, the COMEX is an exchange. They have rules put in place that will protect the exchange. And if too many people stand for delivery, they'll say you can't do it anymore. You're going to get cash settled. That's force majeure. That's the same thing as a market default. And the key to understanding all of this is that the players understand what's going on and are slowly, methodically draining the exchanges so as to maximize their take. Everyone says, why don't they just do it all at once? Well, it'll be game over, force majeure, cash settlement, you get nothing. If you do a little death by 1,000 paper cuts, you get further into the game. So it wouldn't surprise me, you look at how sophisticated this technology is. Yeah, it probably will.
Okay. Another one that we talk about quite a bit, revaluation. We were talking about it today. Talking about it with your dad today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when gold gets revalued, will be with all the different countries use the same valuation, or will it all be different?
Well, I mean, if it were used elsewhere, it would arbitrage to the highest price. As it is right now, these commodities are valued in U.S. dollars. So if the U.S. said, well, we'll pay $140,000 for every ounce that a government would like to send us their gold, we'll pay $140,000 an ounce. That's what the price is if you have the ability to send it to the United States. I mean, that is what the price is. I'm not saying you're going to do that. That number would offset completely the debt with an asset, but it has more to do with arbitrage. And so, look, if you look at who's been buying all the gold and repatriating it, it's the central banks. It's going to behoove all of them. And in a world of floating exchange rates, where a currency's valuation is not valued arbitrarily, it's valued against something else. Well, you value it against the dollar, and this is what gold is worth in dollars. Well, fine, sell it in dollars and switch it back into your currency if that's what you want to do it. So it's really irrelevant as to what currency it's valued in. And as an example, like right now, if we look at gold in US dollars, it's roughly $27.70. If we look at it in Canadian dollars, it's $39.84. It's almost $4,000 a Canadian ounce. I remember, I don't know how many years ago it was, I was playing in a softball tournament in Toronto, and it was a 1-to-1 exchange on the dollar and the Canadian dollar. And I was probably in my 30s, so you're talking 20 years ago. But it's crazy that the strength of the dollar is pushing that big of a disparity, $1,300 or so.
Yeah, in Canada.
In Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's $4,000 in Canadian dollars. Well, they could sell it and convert it to US dollars at that point. So it doesn't matter what currency it is.
Yeah. All right, let's see. This kind of goes.
I don't know, Kevin, man. I mean, it's like, who really knows what it should be? Everything has been distorted and much higher, I would say. It's a question that I have a hard time answering, because I ultimately think that markets go higher than anyone thinks possible. What is the real value of gold when you've had a 50-year effort by the Western central banks to suppress the price to support a system which was actually the antithesis of the system, gold? So you support the system by stepping on gold, taking the proceeds of those short sales and buying US treasuries. And that was the game. So they would lease all the gold to the commercial banks, the central banks of the West, not just the United States, Switzerland, Portugal, the UK, France. They all would lease their gold, all part of this same scheme, and they would lease their gold to the commercial banks of their countries, UBS or Deutsche Bank or Credit Suisse or JP Morgan, whatever, and they would short the price of gold, getting it from the central banks. The lease rates were 0.5% or less most of my career. So you lease a huge amount of gold at 0.5%. You have two obligations. Number one, sell it to the market right away. Flood the market with product, drive down the price. When you sell something short, you get money. You have to pay that back, either in deliverable in the gold or cash settle. So you sell it, you get the money. With the proceeds, you buy US treasuries at the time, paying 4 or 5%, whatever they were. You make the spread between the treasury purchase and the lease rate. Free and clear, being told by the central banks in a form of sovereign immunity to go ahead and do this. We're going to protect you, go do it. Short the price of gold, keep it down, put the proceeds in treasuries, keeping interest rates down to support an illusion of prosperity in a low interest rate environment. This is all not about manipulating gold. It's about the problem associated with manipulating interest rates. And, most of your adult life where you were a father and successful and working, interest rates were ridiculously low.
Yeah.
Since 1982, interest rates have fallen straight down at a 45-degree angle, and they've been suppressed and manipulated instead of being controlled by the market. And then they give you fugazi information coming out of the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Yeah, and then they change what's actually included in the numbers. It's they don't like the numbers, then they start taking things out. Ex food and energy, housing, ex food. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous.
So by shorting gold, taking the proceeds and buying treasuries, and then covering your short positions very easily with immunity, it was an easy game for the commercial banks to make a fortune. The central banks were happy. The aristocrats were all happy because everyone was happy in Western currencies and taking out loans and, with low interest rates, overextending, creating distortions in asset prices and misallocations of resource and capital. Yeah, we'll buy another building. We'll add another division to the company. Oh, you know what? Now no one's working in that building and our business is slowed down. Now what? Rates go up, poof. My point is that the distortions that were created through all this about manipulating interest rates, and somewhere down the line, Mother Nature is going to grab you by the toe and get her pound of flesh. And I don't know when that is or what triggers it, but this is the unwinding of that where we are right now. And although Trump is here to be a savior of our culture, he cannot, without a good deal of pain, unwind the massive amount of irresponsibility that we've inflicted upon the world through our fiscal and monetary irresponsibility and recklessness, without really going through that 2-mile tunnel that Andy Dufresne crawled through in the Shawshank Redemption. You have to do that.
I will say, Kevin, from one Kevin to another, and I say this, I follow Keith Neumeyer, and I think that he's right. I think his predictions are right. I think that, and I know that Andy might be a little bit more conservative than me, but I look back and I say 1980, I was 8 years old. And if I went into a pizza store in 1980, I could probably get 2 slices of pizza and a Coke for about $1.25. Now you can't go into a pizza shop, get 2 slices and a soda for probably under what, $10?
Or way more than that, man.
The cost of an ounce of silver from 1980 till now is we're still down about $20 from the top of where we were.
And the money supply is up 14-fold since then, just 14.
I mean, right now, my view, I believe that silver, realistically, even if you take into account inflation from 1980 till now, I think that we're talking about a $70 to $80 number. And I do think in several years, as Keith is talking about, triple digit silver. That's where I think that we should be. I think that's fair value. I mean, look, we're right now over a 90-to-1 ratio. We're over 90-to-1 silver to gold. It's nuts.
So Jay, that's a fair question, man. But I don't think it is as much anymore. Because maybe there's some people that go that way, but even the people who are selling their gold are chasing yield, they're chasing return. And so I think what it is more along the lines of the online betting app just opened up and everyone's.
I think it's greed.
It's greed.
That's what it is. It's greed.
It's not. They may have a understanding of the issue, but the people who buy gold and silver, I think, have a far broader understanding of the issue. And I can paint a very complementary picture and say we both enter the door for the same reason, and that is what Jay is saying: a loss of confidence. Yeah. One goes, they're diametrically opposed once they get in the door. One is going to get rich, and one is going to keep what they've worked their ass off their whole life to make. And my dad used to say this to me, and I always thought that's not true, but it is, and it's easier in some respects to make money than to keep it these days. So no, I don't really think that's what the case is. I think it's more along the lines of greed and people wanting to make money quick. Honestly, I do. I wish I didn't, but I do.
Let's go to Alan. What's doing, Alan? Good to see you out here tonight. Has everybody noticed that Trump is now pushing gold through Trump Jr.?
He's been doing that for a while. Donald Jr. I'm very friendly with Clay Clark, and Clay knows Donald Jr. pretty well. And I do know that Donald Jr. believes in gold. I was a little surprised to see he was doing affiliate deals like that. But it's a good thing. I in my interview with Judy Shelton, which I think people should watch on this channel.
Wonderful interview. Recommend it.
She talked about issuing a 50-year treasury backed by gold, that her and Trump discussed this in the previous administration, couldn't get it done, but she believes he'll issue them July 4th, 2026, 250th year anniversary. The administration understands gold. Scott Bessent, who was just, he was just approved as the Treasury Secretary, his largest holding is in gold. Judy was Trump's nominee to run the Fed. She wasn't, what is the word? It's not approved, it's confirmed. She wasn't confirmed. She was an advisor. I think high probability she'll be on the board of governors of the Federal Reserve this time. She's a massive gold bug. So the administration understands it. Again, the central banks are the ones buying all the gold, the really, really in the know people. Less of them are buying Bitcoin. I'm not speaking negatively about it, but you don't hear of central banks all going headlong into Bitcoin the way you do about gold. And the fact that this administration acknowledges it, APMEX, long time ago, over maybe 15 years ago, they bought or rented a couple of floors of Trump Tower in New York and paid for it with a handful of kilo gold bars. So Trump understands gold very well, which to me is positive.
Yeah. This is another Robert Kiyosaki question. He's predicting a major crash February 25.
I love Robert. I don't know if that's true or not. I think that to
put a time on
anything diminishes credibility. I think we live in a world of probabilities. To speak in absolutes is not something I would think Robert would do. He's been at this game longer than I have, and I don't think would speak in an absolute that way. I think he would say the market's going to crash, in his opinion. But to say February 25, yeah, it's overdue on many levels. Could it be February 25? Sure. But, the little boy who cried wolf, that's me. I'd rather be out and clear of any damage than 60 seconds late of that. And that's why I say to all the people who have all these profits in the risk on trade, profit's not a 4-letter word, it's 6. Pay your taxes. Who cares? That means you won, and put it in something like gold, or pay down your debt, or buy agricultural ETF, or better yet, farmland or oil and gas, or whatever it may be. Try to diversify yourself outside the system or within the primary trend of a falling dollar, and take your profits in this casino where NVIDIA can fall on one day's notice 18%. When was the last time you saw gold fall?
And these are mega caps. Yeah. We're talking, enormous, which make up a huge part of the S&P, the NASDAQ. What's your opinion on silver being used as part of a basket?
I don't think it'll happen. I mean, our currency was the strongest when it was bimetallic, backed by gold and silver. I don't think it will happen. One of the things that I could see, and Judy said this to me, she said, when we issue these gold treasuries, I'd like to see stable coins issued off of the 50-year gold treasuries. Look, we may get to a point where commodities are so accentuated, who knows what trade wars would result in countries stockpiling and conserving their resources. Maybe it would be, but I don't think silver would be. It's a fair question, but I don't think so.
All right, let's see. Oh, this is well, I mean, look.
I take the fifth.
Yeah.
If that says it for you, I take the fifth.
I would just tell you that I think that there are plenty of other places where Trump's name would be much better suited to be connected with.
I just, I don't think he's associated with them. Maybe it's Donald Jr. and maybe they offered him some sort of a really sweetheart deal for affiliation. But
I would say to anyone who's reading this or listening to this, definitely do your due diligence on any and all of these IRA dealers. It is, you're talking about entrusting people with, for the most part, your largest asset. You should do your due diligence the same way as when you do an inspection on a home before you buy it. You should do the inspection on some of these dealers before you give them any of your money.
I'm not going to say any dealer that is mentioned here is bad, because that's not my style to out someone online. But what he said is really important. When you talk to them, call us and ask us, and don't even tell us that you're talking to them. Say, what do you think of this or that? And what about this price? What's your price on that? A lot of these companies, you'll ask us, what's that price on that? I'll be like, well, what's that? I've been doing this for over 35 years, and I don't know what the hell that item is. Whatever you're talking to companies right now, let's just make it easy and say, tell them all you want is American Eagles, period, and not proof coins. That's period. American Eagles are Buffaloes. American Eagles are Buffaloes, no proof.
Right.
Period. American Eagle silver, American Eagle gold, American Buffalo gold.
And if they try to talk you out of it and talk you into something that sounds a little off the beaten path, once again, tie up your sneakers and run.
And a lot of these companies, so if you buy those, you can see real quick if you're getting a good price with every major company. But if you buy the quarter-ounce duck-billed platypus, that no one's ever heard of, but the mint, maybe it's the Australian mint, or so it's a good mint or whatever, the UK, look around and see how many websites have those.
And by the way, I was just going to say that there's a new site they call Google. If you put the information in, you'll find it. If you don't see it listed at a Miles Franklin, an SD Bullion, a JM Bullion, other these names, you don't want it in your portfolio. It's very simple. So, and if you have purchased something and you're not sure if what you bought was right, send an email into info@Miles Franklin. We'll do a complimentary review for you, and we'll let you know. That's no, we're not going to charge you for anything. We'll just let you know what in fact you do own. There was one that was good. That was not sure what he's trying to ask there.
Yeah, so 75% or more of all the silver that they're using in industry right now is coming from concentrate and doré. This is why they're doing it, William. They're doing it because they got caught lying on the import-export numbers. They told the world they didn't buy any, and they're supposed to report to the IMF, but they sorry, we made a mistake, basically. They say they're buying 10 times more than they're reporting. They're the largest producers in the world, second largest producers of silver. They told David Morgan when he was there on a tour of Chinese silver mines that they were the largest producer in the world. Who knows? But they're going to the mines in Peru, which is number 2 or 3 largest producer in the world. they're building ports in Peru, deep water ports. You'll see them part of the Belt Road or the BRICS. It may already be part of the Belt Road, but they're buying from South America, mostly in Latin America, directly from the miners to disintermediate what he's saying. They want it to be opaque. If you're buying byproduct concentrate and you're buying doré bars that are only partially pure, who the hell knows what it really is until it's refined. So that's why they're doing it, to be opaque, to keep it less than forthright about what they're doing. And why would they want to be, if the goal is to slowly bleed dry the cupboard and get everything that you possibly can, then you don't want to be forthright, or you get challenged in your own endeavors.
Yeah. Ivan, how do you sell your metals to guarantee that you at least get spot? Many dealers are, I'm guessing, offering $4 under spot for silver.
Well, those are ridiculous prices. This is what we were talking about earlier. Those are horseshit prices. And I mean, some of them are bad that we do that I think are bad. They're bad from a standpoint of what I'm used to, but that's thievery. That's wrong.
Yeah, and most of the time that you're going to see those type of numbers, you're talking about usually the mom and pops.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, listen, it's a tough market right now, but it's a buyer's market. So, you know, as much as it's terrible for the people that need to sell and get back into fiat for one reason or another, you know, what one person's loss is another person's treasure.
Honest to God, man, I've never seen anything like this. Never in all the time I've been doing this. So that's what we were saying at the beginning. If you missed it, go back after this post, and it'll post a few minutes after we're done, and you can watch what we talked about at the beginning. I spent a half hour going over this topic.
And one of the things that I want to get to before we're done tonight is because, you know, we don't talk all that much about numismatic or semi-numismatic, but right now, I mean, you certainly know, you've been doing this longer than me, 35 years. Premiums on these numismatics and semi-numismatics that we refer to, have you ever seen them this advantageous?
Never. And that's the time to buy them. I flew all around America in 2008 and 9 when Obama was preordained to take the presidency. It started premiums on like common date numismatic coins went parabolic, 60, 70, 80, 90% over spot. And I called every client I had sold those to, and that's all people bought for 15 years when I started. And I told everyone, I'm coming. You can't say no. I'm gonna take your numismatic. I'm gonna sell them to the market, and I'm gonna bring you 60, 70, 80% more gold eagles. There were auction galleries that were bidding these abnormally ridiculous premiums for a good year and a half. And 62 grade $20 Liberty that normally carried a 10 or 15% premium to an eagle, I was paying people 70% over spot. So I'd pick up 1,000 of those coins from someone who I'd sold for years, and I'd bring them back 1,700 gold eagles. It's never been like that. Yeah. It's the opposite of that right now. And we took part in a ridiculously large purchase that we have, and we're going through it all right now. And we did just
launch a little bit on our special. We have raw AUs of St. Gaudens, and they are, if I'm not mistaken, 50 over melt, and the St. Gaudens has a 0.9675.
So it's going to be basically under spot.
It is under spot. It's going to be about $40.
My whole career, those coins never sold anywhere near spot. They were always way over. Always. This is an anomaly, man. This is
get them while you can, though, because I truly don't think this is going to last. And the people that, I mean, you told me you better buy as much as you can of them, and that's what I'm doing. You know, so
yeah, John, that is what is happening. That's why you're seeing the registered numbers go higher. People are afraid because there's such naked exposure, rehypothecation 2,000% or more on this stuff, and so yeah, those naked positions are like, shit, if we don't get that metal in house and he flips the tariffs, he'll bankrupt us. So they're doing exchange for physical from London into COMEX. It's sitting there in case they have to indeed deliver. That's what it's all about. So we have depositories. We're very proud of our relationship with Brinks. We have exclusives that no one else has. We're the only ones in Miami. We're the only ones in Dallas with Brinks. We also have facilities in New York, Salt Lake City, Los Angeles, Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. In Vancouver and Toronto, we have the only safe deposit box program that I know of that Brinks has ever given to anybody. Those are safe deposit boxes inside of the vault. 1 key boxes, you get the only key and the only spare. They're not 2 key boxes like most safe deposit boxes are, where the bank holds the master. If you lose your key, it's drilled. If you can't get up to retrieve or add to your box, you send one of the keys back in a FedEx envelope. We provide the air bill, goes right up to the vault. They make an addition or a subtraction, send you back whatever you need along with your key and a revised certificate. It's a very cool program. But yeah, I think our Brinks program is honestly second to none.
And if you want to know about IRAs, give us a call. We'll tell you which depositories we think are the best and safest for you.
I mean, I don't know PSLV in the event of a squeeze. I'm not quite sure. You know, taking metal out of PSLV is 5, I think. 1,000. No, it's 10. I think it's 10 1,000-ounce silver bars. Pretty sure it's 10. It's 1 400-ounce gold bar for PHYS and 10,000 ounces in 1,000-ounce bars. I don't know if they would ever limit redemption. I don't know. It's a good question, but I'll tell you that I hold Sprott in the highest of regard. They've done a lot for me in my career, and I would trust them over just about anyone. But like, you know, the management fee that you're paying for PSLV is probably less than you would pay for physical storage in one of our Canadian storage facilities or US. In other words, you're paying, I think, probably 40 or 45 basis points a year for them to manage that. And you don't really have the ability to easily withdraw it. So why not take that money? If you're going to buy an ETF, that's the one to do it. But if you're going to want to buy physical, whether in an IRA or not, then buy the real thing, store it in a Brinks facility, and pay roughly less than what you're paying from PSLV, and you have the product in hand if you need it.
I want to just bring something up real quick because I thought
about vests.
No, not about vests. This one's about Kentucky.
Yeah,
I told you about this today. I laughed when I read this. So I think earlier on, I think we talked about it maybe in November and December. It had to have been previous to 25 because Kentucky had passed a bill.
They got great fried chicken.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
Kentucky fried chicken?
Yeah, I got that. I wonder if everyone else got it too. Yeah. I don't think he should quit his day job and take up comedy. It's just my opinion, but it's okay. But you remember we talked about Kentucky passed the bill, no state sales tax. Well, guess what? Governor Beshear took his unconstitutional veto to tell the Department of Revenue that, no, we're going to still charge sales tax on gold and silver. And his quote was, if you own gold, you can afford to pay sales tax. Now, yeah, complete. Now, this is in opposition to the Attorney General declaring that his veto was invalid. The governor directed the Department of Revenue to continue collecting tax, threatening businesses and investors who did not comply with legal action. Well, in response, God bless, a freshman legislator, Roberts, introduced House Bill 2 that would give these aggrieved taxpayers a legal remedy to sue state officials for improper taxation on those purchases of gold and silver in Kentucky.
You know what it sounds like to me? It's like if you collect sales tax and don't pay it, you're in violation of law. I mean, you'll go to jail for that as a company, but it's the other way around. They're demanding you pay a tax when it's already been voted on and a law passed saying they don't have to. And the governor says, too bad, that law is not, I don't care. You still got to charge it. I mean, how do you even rationalize?
Well, the bill that Roberts came up with, it's House Bill 2, says any aggrieved taxpayer who has had taxes collected from them in any purchase that are exempt under KRS 139.480 parentheses 37 may maintain an action for a refund on behalf of themselves and others similarly situated without need to resort to any administrative process against any person collecting or holding such tax funds, including the Secretary of the Finance Administration Cabinet and the Commissioner of the Department of Revenue. The bill is supported and sponsored by the majority of the GOP leadership and was even assigned a single-digit House bill number which is a designation usually assigned to priority bills with strong support. So this is...
Yeah, see if that passes.
Well, Roberts told, of course, one of our favorites, the Sound Money Defense League, that Governor Beshear has engaged in illegal action in order to block the legislation that he does not like, and it's a blatant abuse of separation of powers. Citizens of Kentucky or any state in the United States, for that matter, shouldn't be taxed for trying to use, buy, transact in honest, sound money. End quote.
Yeah,
That's it.
It's
so
crazy.
aggrieved taxpayers who prevail will be entitled to reimbursement, also for their attorney's fees and legal costs.
If that, because we've had to charge tax, which was sickening.
Not only that, clients
that's what I mean. So we'll have to. It's supposed to go up there.
I didn't want to make a mess. I already made a mess before.
Will have to. Why'd you do that? I'm really cold. Who asked you?
Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah. That's fine.
I mean, can you believe that?
No, we'll let people know when that passes.
Yes, and well, not only will we let them know, but we will also then have to put something out because all of our software is designed. Remember, that was a big thing for us. We didn't know what we were going to do.
All right, let's roll through. We're going to go hardcore right now. Why did I start stacking? Because that was the promise I made to my dad. You know this story, Jake. I've told it so many damn times. And if anyone knows it, it's you. Because I told my father when I started my company with him at 19 that I would honor the one rule that he had, and that was to buy something every 2 weeks. And I've imposed that upon everyone at my company. It's the best gift I've ever been given. And if they were honest, they'd say the same thing too. The
100%.
power of compounding is exceptional.
I will tell you.
To me, it's wealth. It's not an investment.
It is the best thing that he ever told me or mandated that I do.
Nice
Alan.
Jake.
Thank you.
Jake.
Okay, whatever. That's Alan, by the way. Yeah. With Trump now advocating gold and mentioning bricks and revaluation as a reason to buy, have you seen an uptick in the retail? No. I mean, listen, like we were talking about before, a lot of retail right now, I think, is chasing crypto. I'm hearing crypto more and more and more from clients that have never talked about it. And I think that there will come that's going to come again. I mean, there's no question this comes full circle. And I think that, as Andy was talking about, the end isn't going to be pretty for a lot of people.
No.
So go to the next one.
We talked about this one. We talked about
Scottsdale. Yeah.
Yeah. That silver is flooding the COMEX because of the tariff unsettling news. I don't know. I think it's long overdue. The $50.
And once, listen, I think once it gets to 50,
sky's the limit.
Yeah,
there's nothing above it.
There is no resistance there. So right now, I think that we're showing really good signs of support around that $30 level, 30 and a half. Again, we're in the face of a rising dollar. The DXY has been, just constantly going up. We had 2 days of it kind of sinking down. But again, even on a day like today, I think we were up, the DXY was up 60 cents. I'm happy. I'm happy with where we're at right now with all the other asset classes where they are. I think that silver and gold, I mean, certainly I'd like to see silver, a little bit higher because I think it deserves to be there. Gold's right there. It's almost at an all-time high once again.
Psalm 91 PV. I did an interview with Judy on this channel a few weeks ago. It was one of my favorite ones I've ever done. We did talk about her tonight. Go back and listen when this posts, but go to the Little by Little channel and you'll see I did an hour-plus interview with her. She's an amazing lady. Up to the palladium one.
Yeah.
I own less than a handful of ounces of palladium. Used to own a bunch of it when it was $300 an ounce. I do not own any. It would be last in line for me of the precious metals ones that I would want to own.
This is a great one.
That would be, he's talking about the gold that we supposedly have, 8,300 metric tons. Right. Who knows if it's fact or fiction?
We're hoping that Trump maybe orders an audit.
That's one of the questions I asked Judy in my interview. I said, Judy, I mean, if you want to back the treasury with gold, I asked her about revaluation. I asked her about why the hell hasn't it been audited? And she got angry. She's like, it's stupid that they keep saying it's cost or it's logistics. We're the damn United States, she said. Spend a few $1 million, get it done. It's the only way to inspire confidence. So who knows? We hope it's fact, Martin, but the fact that it hasn't been audited in 70 years would make people question that.
When consumer purchasing power hits 0 cents for the dollar, what happens then? We're almost there now. We're almost there now.
Well, that's when, my dad had my dad's best friend is a a car buff, and he was in Argentina at a Ferrari dealership when they were going through their massive currency devaluation, and he called my dad later that night. He said, "Man, I was looking at a Ferrari in this dealership, and they were changing the price minute by minute on a chalkboard because the currency was falling so fast." So we'd like to hope it doesn't come to that. But when you talk about its value in terms of what it once was, and prior to 1913, it's worth about 1 cent on the dollar. So it's still worth something. It's worth something because there still is a little bit of confidence in the system, but certainly is not holding its value well. That's another question I asked Judy. Who the hell decided to strive for 2% inflation? She said it was Janet Yellen and her husband. It was her husband's idea. I forgot his name, but he was involved in policy making as well. And she said it was stupid. 0% would be better. But basically the argument was that if you have 0% inflation, you can't give people raises. So if it's 2%, you can give them a raise of 1%. And even though they're losing, they think they're winning.
Right.
Very screwed up, disingenuous thing, but who knows? We're on our way there.
All right. This one is your boy.
Yes, Jenny, I am the U.S. contact for Glint, and for those people who would want to cash it out, it would be done where it would be cashed out with Glint and immediately converted into physical with us. We can do that. You can't physically convert it, but in essence, what would be done, it would be sold, and we would then immediately at the same time simultaneously place an order for physical.
So therefore no subject to tariffs because of course
because it'll be coming from the United States. Correct.
There you go. The debt clock right there.
Right here.
Yeah.
Do you watch a debt clock mentioned? They mentioned Treasury dollar and new golden age quite a lot, and silver is emphasized. I do watch it once in a while. I haven't for a little while. That was the whole concept. Some people say that's why JFK was killed, was because he wanted he issued silver certificates. That I have a big stack of them. They say payable to the bearer on demand in silver coin instead of in God we trust. He wanted to take the money creation power away from the Fed, give it to the Treasury the way it's said in the Constitution, and the Fed didn't like that very much. But yeah, I mean, silver won't be backing a system, but it should certainly go parabolic in dollar value based upon its distorted value of being suppressed so massively.
This is a follow-up to what we were talking about before, so now I kind of get what he's talking about. So
yeah, I mean, I think it is. And Judy told me that she thinks on July 4th next year, Trump will issue him the 250th anniversary. So yeah, and if your Treasury Secretary's largest holding is gold, yes, it's for the first time in my career I'm seeing. And Cynthia Loomis, let's revalue the gold to fund the Bitcoin account. The Dutch National Bank, let's revalue gold.
So I don't even know.
Head of the Bundesbank, let's revalue gold.
I don't know how many of our listeners out there actually know what our balance sheet has on it and the valuation of gold right now.
It's valued at $42.22 an ounce, $35 in every other country.
And what is it an ounce on the exchange?
What do you mean?
What is it? What is an ounce of gold?
2,700 and change.
We value it on our balance sheet at $42.
Right. And so 42.22 times 8,300 and whatever metric tons. A metric ton is 32,000.
A lot of ounces.
32,150 ounces, I think, per ton.
To that effect. Yeah.
So, but yes, I think it very much could be, and that's a good question. It's intuitive. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know how easy that would go down, but you would then have the United States Mint and the United States Mint. The RCM would be the U.S. Mint. It's a difficult thing. It's a crown corporation. It's part of the it's part of the UK. Yeah. It's harder to accomplish them.
What do you think will happen when they audit the Fed in Fort Knox? I have a feeling when they audit Fort Knox, they are not going to find, if they get to audit Fort Knox, I don't think they're going to find nearly what we say we have.
To me, it would be a bigger conspiracy than the JFK stuff. So who knows? Got time for a couple more.
Yeah. Should be stacking copper pennies.
No. I mean,
that was quick.
No, they might be worth 2-3 cents. So, you're going to take a 1,000-pound bag. I had a friend who got so pissed off at his HOA once that he dumped like $500, a fine he got for doing something in his neighborhood. He dumped $500 worth of pennies onto the front step of the head of the HOA. They weren't happy about that. But,
really?
It's like a wheelbarrow, man. No, John, I can't do that. But my wife and I were talking about that on a walk last night. Bill Holter calls it digital air. I don't know. How is a piece of paper, a piece of linen paper with dead presidents on it, money? It's accepted. How is gold money? It's been accepted for 5,000 years. It's mass adoption, even though it seems stupid that something, a bunch of numbers. That's
So this is what I'll say with regard to that, because
let's hear your wisdom.
Jason Williams did write a very insightful book. He's a monster in Bitcoin. It's called Bitcoin Hard Money You Can't Fuck With. So it's great reading. It was probably my first kind of entry into the digital space of Bitcoin. And so basically, when you think about it, anything can be considered money or currency if enough people utilize it. And he talks about in jail, money means nothing. Money is no good in jail. The currency in jail is ramen noodles.
Cigarettes.
That's it. Well, they can't smoke anymore in jail. So ramen noodles. Yeah. Can't smoke anymore. Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually cruel.
So ramen noodles is considered
a
currency. You probably can. They find things to smoke. Trust me.
I'm sure.
We'll find out.
There's a. I don't want to go down that path.
But the whole point of it, and it's a very insightful book. But anything can be considered money or currency if enough people actually believe it. You've done that background check on me, several times,
I did.
And you still come up with nothing. But that's fine. Eventually,
we got time for two more.
All right, where are we at? Which one do you want?
We can go to Jake.
Jake. Okay.
I don't know if the miners are involved in the OTC market, and I don't know. It's much more opaque. I don't know if they're in it or not. Typically, at the LBMA is an OTC market. I think it's the bullion banks that are doing the over-the-counter market, less the mining companies. I would be shocked if you had mining companies playing around in the OTC. I think it's the bullion banks.
I want this one. So what do we think of our mint eliminating the pennies? We need to keep cash alive. How would people be? Well, the funny thing is, remember when we talked about this? There was one of
they did it in Canada.
Well, but they were talking about getting rid of pennies and just saying
making their nickels.
They just said what we should do is just treat every penny as a nickel. So I said, wait a minute. Every penny becomes a nickel instantaneously. You know what we just did?
We revalued.
We just
500%.
We just printed probably what equates to about, I don't know how many pennies are in circulation, but you multiply that by 5, it's probably in the neighborhood of 25 plus.
We revaluated by 500%.
Right.
So why couldn't they do it with
instantly
gold?
Right.
And to that last question, what is money? Well, money is now the authority says it's 5 times its value. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right. So
here, 2 more. Last one.
Gold is 50 an ounce. If you go by face value, American Gold Eagle, metal prices with the factory value with this program. Well, I think that's what we were talking about today with your dad, right? That's like, that's like saying, gold being on our books at 42 and change is like me going into a store with a gold buffalo and saying, here, it's $50. It's ludicrous. It's insanity.
I don't know what the reason they did that for. There are all sorts of theories, but if you reset the system and make look, I mean, way back then, early 1900s, a loaf of bread was a nickel. So, an ounce, 100 loaves of bread still going to be less than an ounce of gold. I have no idea how the hell they would do that. I don't know if the face value is relevant or not.
No, but we still talked today about the M2 money supply versus gold. What they would have to revalue gold to equal that. But as your dad was talking, it would be fractional. Right, it would be fractional. But you're still talking that'd be $20,000 gold.
Yeah, I don't know how they would do it. I don't. The face value is really kind of strange, to be honest with me. All right, last one.
We have.
I know I keep saying it, but
we have a lot. But just
go
to that one.
Which
and then we'll call it.
One?
Go to Edward, and then
I will do Edward and Matthew.
Okay.
Maybe if it were pegged to gold, if it were pegged to gold. And you could redeem it for gold. I think at some point, if it was trustworthy, you'd send your gold into the treasury, get your account credited, and know you could take it back if you trusted the treasury. So there are a lot of maybes in there. So at this point, I'd rather be sitting on top of the porcupine, on the wash tub instead of chasing it the way they used to hunt them back in the old days. They'd throw a wash tub over a porcupine and wait them out. Well, I don't know. I'd rather have the option of finding out than not.
All right. I just want to get this out
Did
there.
you do?
No, I'm going to. I just want to put that on the bottom so everyone can see what our current specials are for the week. I definitely recommend two specifically that are on there because I think that they are so dirt cheap. We have Silver Philharmonics at $285 over spot, and we have the Raw AU St. Gaudens, which I would absolutely take advantage of while we have them. I don't think that you're going to find these St. Gaudens if you don't own any. It's a piece of history. It's sensational. They're beautiful. Probably one of the most beautiful coins I think I've seen. So,
Matthew, Doge already came out and said we're not going to be able to do the 2 trillion. We'll be lucky to do 1 trillion. I guess it remains to be seen. But even if they took 1 trillion off of the debt, the debt or the deficit, we're still running $1 trillion+ deficit. So he comes in at 37 and leaves at 42 or whatever it is. So yes, it would help certainly to stomp out the stupid spending, but it goes well beyond that. They'd have to tackle Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all the pensions. They'd have to make the hard choices that they will not do.
all right. So we're kind of wrapping it up here. We've been almost at an hour and a half. So next week, a week from today, Andy and I have a very busy weekend. Andy has a very busy day tomorrow, but we have an even busier weekend. And then we are traveling to, well, we have a golf tournament. It's the member golf tournament.
My member should be here any second.
Yeah, and my member, who is my brother-in-law, and also a very
I is he not watching this shit?
He should be.
I mean, you know what? I'm gonna give him a lot of.
Yeah, I would.
You know what?
But I think it would be pretty cool
to bring Smooth Skin on.
Well, yeah, we should bring Smooth Skin on, aka Talcum X. But I think it would be pretty cool if a week from today, we'll be in Aspen. We have to go see those families.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be pretty cool maybe to just even do a drop by next week.
Yeah, we could do that. We could do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be what? It'll be 6 o'clock there. Is it 2 hours?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
So I want to ski that day.
We are.
Good.
But, by 6 o'clock, we're going to be.
Don't promise anything.
No promises, but it'll be nice. John,
I may have a few cocktails in me, in the
even
mountain,
better
in the mountain air.
And by the way, and for sure, you've never seen me then.
I've never seen.
Well, you have, but it could be one for the books.
All right, we'll do it
right now, and we'll have Mark there, and we'll have another couple of buddies there. It should be good. He's coming. I think he's coming to dinner, and then, or we could do it when Josh is there. We're seeing him for a night.
He's coming
Thursday. No, Wednesday night. Josh coming Wednesday because he's skiing on Thursday. Yeah. So
we'll do it.
We're going to try and get some runs in. In between our meetings, we're going to try and get some runs in. It'll be great. So we won't promise it, but we will probably have a banner up there, even if we do a drop by. Jonna, is that all right? No? Okay, Jonna says no.
Yeah, we'll do it. Don't listen to her. Yeah. I make the rules.
He doesn't make the rules.
Yeah, that's really
He doesn't make the
true.
rules. He may be the head of the household, but she's the neck that turns it.
Mm-hmm.
Right or wrong?
That's totally right.
That's it. All right. Well, listen, it's been real. Once again, thank you for joining. Tell your friends, tell your family. Everyone needs to wake up a little bit as to what's really going on. Subscribe, smash the like button, and we will see you.
If anyone needs help on picking out a vest,
I'm the guy. Yeah. Medals go to Andy, and vests, I'm your guy.
God bless everyone. Peace out.
And
what was that?
no.